So if I want to start from scratch, the first thing I need to start thinking about is my project settings inside of DaVinci Resolve. And the best way to do that is to look at the media you're going to use. So here we have the Media tab. And when we click on the Media tab, we can actually navigate to the footage we need to look at. Now I've actually found the footage here. I just wanted to show you, if you want to add it to this item here, which is your favorites list, what you can do is simply click and drag the folder, and notice you get a little plus, and there is OTE. You can't rearrange it, but you can have it there. So here's my OTE ColorPack, and this is the footage. So I'm actually going to be looking at the ProRes footage, so I can double click that to look at it, and there's all the footage. Now what I'm looking for in actual fact is the size of the footage that I'm using, so that I can make the appropriate project settings. Now it's not the end of the world if you don't do it this way, because you can just select your clips and drag them down. The first clips it receives down here, it will offer you the opportunity to change your project settings, because there are default project settings. The key here, the important thing here, is to make sure that when you do drag any clips down, if you want to change your project settings that way, make sure they are from your key camera, not from some secondary camera with different settings. So the particular footage we've got here is UHD footage, and it's a particular frame rate, 23.976. Now I can find all of that information by looking at the metadata. So I'm looking at the icon view, but here is the list view. And I can actually have a look at all the various details on the clip, and I can clearly see here, for example, it's 3840 by 2160, and the frame rate is 23.976. Now that is the setting that I want, because all of my footage, as you can see, is that. But if you've got multiple different types of footage, then make sure that the first ones you drag down match your key camera, the most important work that you've got. Okay, so now that I've got that sorted out, I can actually set up my settings. I could just drag these clips down, or alternatively I can go to this little cog icon at the bottom here, and that brings up project settings, and you see I've got master settings here. Okay, now I look at the setting here, timeline resolution, and I can click down here and I can look for the UHD timeline resolution. So there you go, 3840 by 2160. But notice the frame rate's at 24. I actually want 23.976. And I might as well put that into the playback frame rate as well, 23.976. Okay, now that's the key setting that you need to make sure is sorted out. You will only get the opportunity, if you drag items down, to change things once. Okay, so when you've changed them, you change them once. If you even do a Command Z or Control Z and go backwards and then drag them down again, you won't get the opportunity to do it again. So you do need to get this right at the beginning. Now the other thing I want to show you here is at the bottom where we've got this thing called optimized media. Now optimized media is if we want to create effectively a sort of a proxy workflow. Now at the moment we've put choose automatically, or you can actually decide that it's going to be a quarter or a half or whatever you want. You can choose the size, but you can also choose what type of optimized media you require. Now all depends what you're going to be doing. Are you going to be doing lots of color work? Are you just wanting basic quick proxies that will play back fast? So you can make a selection here for all kinds of optimized media formats depending on what your workflow is going to be later on. So if I want to do an optimized media workflow, I might choose a GoPro Cineform, or maybe a DNxHR. Probably a DNxHR SQ will do fine for optimized media. Okay, and render cache, if we're actually going to do a render cache, are we going to render at this rate or are we going to render at a higher one? Again, I'm going to choose a fairly straightforward one. That'll do. And here, how quickly, if we do have to choose the render option, how quickly will it start doing it? I'm going to make that 3 seconds. Okay, basically, this is when things render in the background. How long does the program have to be inactive or not do anything in the user interface before that background rendering takes place? That's what that value is. Okay, so that's set up lots of settings inside the master settings. There is one other that we will set up that I'll also show setting up inside of the XML workflow, and that's under color management. If you choose color management, by default the color science is DaVinci YRGB. What you actually want to do for our workflow is choose the second one down, DaVinci YRGB color managed. And this will allow us to choose a different input color space for our clips. I'll show you that a bit later on. You can define it here if they're all the same, so I could do it here, but I want to show you in the media page when we get to that point. So I'm actually at this stage just simply going to choose save. Okay, so all my settings are saved. Now I can see all my clips in list view or icon view. There are all the clips, but very few of them have any metadata. And you can see at the moment, if I click on any of these clips, you'll see down here there's not much metadata attached to them, and you can actually see this better if you turn off audio. So I'm going to hide audio, and you can look at these two arrows here, this up and down arrow, to add additional information from metadata. So for example, shot and scene, that's quite a good one to use, and you can see that there's no description, there's no comments, there's no keywords. It's basically all we've got for these clips. In fact, you've actually got all groups at the top, and if I show you all groups, the only thing that we've got in here is time code, start frames, basically the information that would be under clip details. That's all the information that's associated with these individual shots. Now metadata is important because it's searchable. So if you want to find things later, you can actually find them, and you can organize them by metadata. So let me give you an example. I'm going to go back to my icon view, and I'm just going to bring in all these clips. So I'm going to literally bring it from the first one, and I'm going to shift select to the last one. Okay, so shift select, and I'm just going to pull them all down here and add them to my media pool. So there they all are in my media pool, and any clip that I click on, so there's dead mother, okay, it's got metadata, but you can change and add metadata. So if I was to click this drop down here and I go to, let's look at scene and shot, you can see that I can actually start to add keywords. So I could put mother in there. Okay, and let's look at a couple of others. Let's look at, I can look at this one here, and I can call this one night sky. You can actually play it through, by the way. If you hover over it, you get a sense for what's going on here. There's a night sky view, so, or evening sky. So maybe I want to just call this evening, evening and sky. So those are two keywords. And then you've got the actual character. So here's the actual character himself. So this character is called Mikey. So any shot that's got Mikey in it, and I can actually select multiple shots. So if I hold the command or the control key, I can select multiple shots with Mikey in. So let me just do a few for argument's sake. So all these shots here have got Mikey in them. There's Mikey again. So let me just type in here with all those selected, M-I-C-K-E-Y. Now that's Mikey. Now if I want to add that to all of these shots, click away. There they all are. Notice at the bottom of the metadata. Now when you do one shot, like I did mother, I didn't need to save it, it was just added. But when you do multiple shots, as I've done here, and I click save, I've actually added that keyword to all of these shots. So if I click away, that's not the original mother shot. Where was the original? The middle mother shot was here. But I could also add this one. You see I've got two more mother shots I can add. Now individually, all I did with the first one was click and type mother. But if I want to add it to this one and this one, I hold the command key, type in the keyword mother again. Okay, notice it's come up with the option, so I can click on it to make sure it's spelt correctly. And because it's more than one shot, I must click save. Okay, now you need to go through all your shots, and you can add all kinds of things, internal, external. You can add the character of the other one, which is called Will. So I could go through and add all the clips that have got Will in him. Here's Will here, so I could add Will in here. So we could add all of those. We can also add camera angles or close-ups, extreme close-up, mid-shot, MSCU, XCU. You can add all of those, and they then become searchable, and a good place to put them is basically in the keywords. Now why do I want to do this? Well, I want to do this because I want to create smart bins, and you'll see at the bottom here I actually got the ability to create smart bins. And if I right click, so I'm going to add the smart bin, and I'm going to call it, give it a name, M-I-C-K-E-Y. I actually misspelt it, by the way. The script says it's M-I-K-E-Y. Got to be careful about that sort of thing. I'm not going to change it now. So media pool properties, file name, no, I want keyword. I could scroll down to keyword, but if I just do K, by the time I've done that, it comes up with keywords, contains, M-I-C-K-E-Y, create smart bin. And then all the ones that have got Mikey in them that I tagged earlier are here. Now I could have then also added another property that would have included an external, internal, whatever. I'm going to also create another one just to show you the workflow. So right click, add smart bin, call this one mother, M-O-T-H-E-R, and again keywords, so K for keywords, contains mother, M-O-T-H-E-R. There we go, create smart bin. And so you can see I'm organizing things by smart bins. And of course you can have multiple items. So we could have one of these that's actually got Mikey. Here you see these couple of these has actually got Mikey's finger in them. So these two have got Mikey finger in them. Okay, so I'm actually going to select that one, and I'm going to select that one, and I'm going to also add a keyword that's got M-I, seeing I've misspelled it before, I better do it again, Mikey. There you go, and that's added that one in there, and I'm going to save because it's multiple shots. And when I go back to Mikey, you'll see that these ones have also been added in because they contain his hand. So you can see you can filter everything by smart bins. You can create your own bins, so you can right click and add bins. Okay, it's perfectly possible to do that, or you can actually create them and organize them by smart bins. Choice is entirely yours, but basically you need to go through all of your clips and you need to organize how they're going to look. There's one other lovely little option which allows you to have timelines that we create also saved into a bin. There's two places to do it, but the one I'm going to show you, because I haven't created any timelines yet, you can't use this once you've created timelines, but if you haven't created a timeline, you can actually go to this button here, again these project settings, and under the general options, so we've been looking at color management underneath general options, you'll see at color there's this one that says use timeline bin, and if I click use timeline bin save, you'll see that there is a bin for timelines. Now I haven't any timeline created yet, but you'll see that you can actually create a timeline bin. Any timelines you create will be inside of that bin, and you can organize all your footage inside these various bins. Add a bin of your own, right click on master and add bin, and you can create bins and organize things however you want to. Okay, so organization, lots to organize. You can do it with smart bins, you can do it with direct bins. There's a timeline bin. There's even an option to create a smart bin for timelines as well, which is actually found, believe it or not, under this one where it says DaVinci Resolve. If you click inside there, you've actually got some additional preferences, and under user over here and under the editing tab, you can actually create a smart bin for timelines. So this, by the way, can be created anytime. This bin that we created here needs to be created before you've created the timeline, but anytime you can do this one if you want a smart bin down here for timelines. I'm not going to do that. Okay, so now that I've done all this, assuming I've gone through the whole project and actually sorted it all out, I'm actually ready to start talking about the edit. And that's where you can go to the edit page and you can actually start to create a timeline. Now a timeline can be created from any of these clips, and you can organize them however you like. I'm just going to find the first clip, which happened to be the car one, so I'm just going to go down. I haven't actually put a keyword in there, which is probably very silly, but there we go. Where are we? There's the car one there. I can right click on that one and do new timeline using selected clips. It says what do you want to call it, and I'm going to call it OTE start, and there is that first clip, and then we're ready for doing some editing. Okay, you see that timelines in the timeline bin, but I've still got my master bin and I've still got my smart bins at the bottom, which you can pull up however you want to organize them and you want to play. By the way, if this is not full screen, this button here makes things full screen if you want to do that, and you're ready to start doing your edit. Okay, in the next tutorial we're going to look at an XML workflow, which is taking an edit that's been created in another editor, in this case it's going to be Premiere Pro, and bringing it into Resolve, matching all the media so the media conforms in the timeline, and then looking forward to making all these clips look as they should do.